Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of Seekers of the Supernatural. I'm your moderator tonight, Tony Spera, of course, with host Ed and Lorraine Morin. Tonight is an historic night. I'm not one to make predictions, but tonight is November 7th, election night. My prediction tonight is that either Al Gore or George Bush will become the next president of the United States. Mark my words. So, I think what we'll do tonight is, we talk a lot about specific cases, specific hauntings, but tonight I think what I'd like to ask Ed and Lorraine is, how do you know when a house is haunted? What are the various types of hauntings that are occurring out there to people? How would they recognize the various kind of spirits, perhaps an earthbound spirit, a demonic spirit, all those types of supernatural occurrences? So I think I'd like to start, if I could, tonight with Ed. Ed, how do you know if a house is haunted?
Well, first of all, people will call us up and they'll say, Tony, I think there's something in my house. And I'll say, why? Well, from my peripheral vision, I sometimes see a shadow. Or I believe I hear doors opening and closing at night, and I see these lights shooting across the room when it's dark in the bedroom. Maybe little scratching sounds, which could be attributed to some rodent or something, but then there's the knocking sounds.
Right.
These are all the beginning stages of what we call infestation. As the family lives in the home longer, things will build because they'll become more frightened. As they become more frightened, they throw off psychic energy into the atmosphere, which those spirits or spirit will use as a fuel to manifest itself. Now, if that spirit was in the house when they moved in there, then we have what we would call an earthbound spirit or an obsessed spirit. I remember in Waterbury, Connecticut, there was this big, beautiful mansion up on a hill there, and it was an Italian villa. The man who owned it had a motto in his living room, carved right in the wood, mine, always mine. He wasn't kidding, Tony. He was always going to stay there, and he did. 4 families bought the house. 4 families were driven out of that house. How did he drive them out? They used to actually hear a voice, a materialized larynx, shouting to get out. This was his house. He was obsessed with it. He was going to stay there. Well, that's one type of a haunting. When you hear a voice like that, and it's audible, you know there's something there which shouldn't be there. Then there are spirits which we call earthbound, which don't realize that they have left that dwelling in spirit. They stay right on. They love the house, or they want it so bad as this Italian fellow did. But, all ghosts aren't harmful, aren't negative. They simply want to dwell in the place that they love the most. We have a lot of this at schools where janitors were never married. This school was their whole life. They stay right there. Say in some institution, like a mental institution, a hospital, you have these old guys that have been there for years and years. It's not that they mean any harm. It's the only home they ever knew. So they don't want to leave it. So they stay right there.
So that's like an earthbound spirit?
That would be an earthbound spirit. Earthbound because it's not progressing to where it should go, Tony.
See, all cases of spirit infestation, Tony, are not always hauntings, though. I mean, you can have a loved one who is going to return. Maybe they'll return in an automobile to forewarn you of something or to guide you through a situation.
She says in an automobile, they're not driving the automobile.
No, they'll appear.
It's like the one over in Colorado telling the wife what to do during a snowstorm.
Yeah, exactly. But that's not a haunting. A spirit has appeared, but it's not necessarily...
Okay, so because a spirit appears doesn't necessarily mean it's a haunting.
No.
What is a haunting then?
A haunting is where there's infestation, Tony. Terrifying things. Things that are very frightening. If a spirit of a loved one wanted to visit us and appear at the foot of our bed, or appear at a family gathering or wedding or a christening, I mean, that's not a haunting. And it doesn't even require investigating it, Tony, because you don't want to get rid of somebody like that. What you want to do is try to explain to a family exactly why that spirit is there. But hauntings are definite infestation. That is where there's knocking sounds, there's doors opening and closing.
Bed shaking.
Yeah.
Pounding sounds. But a visitation apparition, that's all together. They're usually different than what we've been talking about. They appear probably once. For instance, a young man that's in the Army, he's killed over in Korea or World War II, whatever. At the moment he dies, he's thinking of being home. He's there instantly. He doesn't have to get on a plane or a train. He is there through thought, instantly in that house. His mother, his father, maybe his wife will see his apparition. That's like saying, although my physical body is gone, I survived the grave. That's a gift from God. That's a visitation apparition. The crisis apparition, this is similar to what Lorraine was talking about. You might be driving along, say on a stormy night, and I'm thinking of one specific case that I was told about years ago. The woman her husband died. She was driving along, and she could hear her husband's voice telling her to stop the car, just as audible as my voice is being heard right now. She stopped the car, and lo and behold, she could see a lantern up ahead. Guy comes running up to her, the bridge is out. That's a crisis apparition. The husband's spirit came to her and warned her not to go any further, and she heeded that warning.
That happened also. You know where else that happened, Tony? That happened right on Route 8 outside of Torrington, and that was told to me by a nurse from Charlotte Hungerford Hospital. She was on her way home. The roads were starting to ice in that area, and she was very, very frightened. Her brother-in-law had only died months before, and he appeared next to her and took the wheel. And
he actually took the wheel.
He actually put his hand...
Now, how could a ghost grab a wheel? It's
how could that
invisible.
happen?
Well, the spirit solidifies. A spirit can't solidify to the extent that it's almost like cement. Just like when Glenn Pinnell hit that night, the white lady in front of the cemetery. She was as solid as a cement structure. But a spirit can move things either through solidifying or through what we call psychokinesis or psychokinesis, where mind over matter, they stop something through thinking about it, or grabbing a woman's hand. I've had many spirits grab my arm, but it's not exactly like you would feel somebody grab you. It's like a pressure. You can't move your arm, and that's what she's talking about now.
Yes, and things like that, Tony, they're beautiful things. They're
not hauntings.
I mean, they're not hauntings, but they're beautiful experiences, which shows that, you know, the spirit survived death of that physical body and was still interacting with the family.
How many times have we had spirits tell us they were present at their accident? They knew exactly what happened. They could see their own bodies there on the road. They attended their own funerals. They tell us funny things that might have happened during the funeral, people that were in there. And in one case, a young girl that was killed in an accident, she followed her body all the way up to Maine where they buried it. Then she told us about how this wreath fell right into on top of the casket. Now, how would she know that? How would they know that? She was there.
How did you communicate with the spirit? Was it through,
through
a psychic or something?
Tony, I believe you were at this lecture with us. I believe you emceed that night, and the young man that was at that lecture, he helped out in the school, was a quadriplegic? Quadriplegic. And he had very strong upper arms, but he only had stubs. And
then he was a paraplegic. Okay.
And so he, anyway, he had been in the choir with this girl.
Yep.
And so when she died, her family was from Maine, and that's where she was going to be buried. But she appeared to him, and he said he received the message from her and she talked to him through her mind. And of course we know that she reached him telepathically. And the message she wanted to get through to him was that she didn't want her parents to continue to grieve to the extent that they were, and how much it was bothering her. And grieving does stop the spirit from
passing on. That's what I was going to ask.
on.
Is that like kind of inhibit the spirit?
They try to stay there to console the people, their loved ones.
Yes.
You know, my father, he was open-minded, but he was a very religiously oriented man. I don't think there was a day that ever went by he never said the rosary. But after he died, his car was left to me. My mother gave it to me, and it was all locked up. We had a horseshoe driveway at the time, and the car was parked there in the driveway. It was about 2 o'clock in the morning. All of a sudden, the hi-fi went off full blast. Now, on the hi-fi, Lorraine had flowers. She had a couple of statues. In order to turn that on, you had to pick up the lid and turn it on. But that thing was going full blast. That woke us up, and we could see that there were headlights of a car streaming into the windows into our living room.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, did somebody get in and start the hi-fi? I jumped up. I went out. It was my dad's car. I went outside. The car was locked up, but the lights were on. The lights were on. The hi-fi went off. My father did that to let us know.
That he was okay?
Without scaring us half to death that he was there.
Wow.
But Tony, if you have a house that is truly haunted, you know it.
No doubt.
Okay, what other things happen in a haunted house besides knocking? So what
Well,
else is
people can actually be physically pulled out of their beds.
Things missing.
There's things that are dematerialized, Tony, and they'll reappear
Okay, so
at
some
another
signs
location.
that your house might be haunted would be what?
Change in temperatures, lights going on and off, doors opening and closing.
Television's going on and off.
Yes, electrical appliances. It affects the electricity in the
Psychic
house.
cold spots, like an icy spot when you walk through it. If you get a hot spot, then that means that you're dealing with something inhuman, diabolical.
And also, there's what we call magic whispering. Now, that is very common in a haunted house, and this is how people describe it. They will say, we can hear talking, but you cannot make out what they are saying.
Almost like people talking in another room.
In another room.
You can hear the voices, but you don't.
And
know
it
what
goes
they're
up
saying?
and down, like a conversation will, when people are expressing themselves. But on the other hand, you can't make out words.
So any kind of strange sounds too, you think?
Now, these are hauntings.
Smells and sounds.
Poltergeist is altogether different. A poltergeist will show itself morning, noon, and night, 24 hours a day. When I say show itself, I mean that things will be smashing and breaking, maybe burning. People will be attacked physically. Chairs will topple over. Pictures will fly off walls and smash and break. Vases will fall off. You'll hear pounding sounds. The poltergeist is a German word. It means mischievous or noisy ghost. But there are fire poltergeists, water poltergeists, puncturing poltergeists, many different types, rock-throwing poltergeists. These are the ones that you hear mostly about. I would say at least once a week, if you were to look through all the newspapers in the United States, you would find what we call rock-throwing poltergeists. These rocks fall on the homes. They usually materialize about 30, 40 feet above the house. They come down in a slow, zigzag manner, striking the house, but sometimes breaking windows.
And they're warm to the touch.
Oh, yeah, that's an apport. These stones have been brought from many, many miles away. In Bethlehem, Connecticut, in 1953, which is maybe 20 minutes from where we're sitting right now, Michael Healy, he described himself as a woodcutter. He had a small building where he used to cut the wood and carve things out, I guess, and for 2 years, stones just fell on that house periodically, not 24 hours a day, periodically. They had state troopers, they had the town constable, they had neighbors, friends all surrounding the woods, thinking that somebody was doing that. But how could anybody, have stones appear and come down in a zigzag manner? There's no way you can do
gravity.
that.
Yeah, it defies
But
gravity.
they were
It
trying
does.
to think logically, right? So eventually it did stop. And if you drive by that house today, you'll see a shrine out in front. And many of the stones that fell from the sky actually are made up in the foundation of that shrine.
Yeah, that's what he did with it.
Then at Eichler's Cove, which is right near
Right
here,
here, right here.
Lake Zor, we had stones weighing over 20 pounds that were falling on 3 different dwellings there. And
They did damage.
I'll never forget it. We were called out by Channel 8 news team. We went out there and there was a detective and a police officer standing there by a car, and they had this kid. He was probably 14 years old. I said, well, what's happening? We got him. I said, you got him? I said, who? They said, he's the one who's been doing it. We caught him up on the hill up there. I said, wait a minute, this boy was up on that hill, threw 20-pound stones that came down in a slow zigzag manner. How did he do that? He did it. We know he did it. The Newtown police. All of a sudden, the detectives hit right on the shoulder with a stone. The kid standing right alongside him.
Then what happened? They let him go?
They let the kid go. What else could they do?
They definitely
We explained to them that this is a typical poltergeist phenomena, the falling of stones. Now, it amazes me. You could ask any 10-year-old kid today, what's a poltergeist? They'd know. But you ask this detective or the cop, they don't know. I mean, where have they been? They got their heads in some kind of a sand pile someplace, like an ostrich?
Well, just like that Bridgeport.
Yeah,
chief.
Bridgeport.
Yes.
That's a good example.
Walsh.
He's still alive,
And
right?
again, Walsh,
Oh,
why
yes,
don't
he's
you
still
come
alive.
forward and tell the truth? It's 25 years later. Look, you put your own men on the carpet. They were telling about all the things that were happening in that house on Lindley Street, hour after hour. You come along and say that a 9-year-old girl fooled at least 8 or 9 cops in the kitchen, ourselves, 4 or 5 people, a couple of reporters, the parents. That kid could move a refrigerator weighing over 400 pounds without a singer do it.
He made the patrolmen look like a bunch of idiots.
He made
That's
the
right.
church look like idiots,
Why
too.
doesn't he come forward? He's retired. The crowds are gone. He doesn't have to worry about putting up barricades anymore.
Yeah.
Walsh, come forward. Tell the truth. You made these people look foolish, and how the media could fall for that is beyond me. He said the little girl was a ventriloquist. She was the one that was making the sounds coming around the cat. He never said who was the one psychiatrist that found that out, or how they proved the kid was a ventriloquist. She was not. We were there. We know what we heard. We know what we
So that was
seen.
a real haunting, huh?
Well, that was
No.
a poltergeist haunting.
That was a poltergeist.
That was a poltergeist.
That
Something
went
bad?
on-
Something bad.
Yeah, that's
Definitely.
bad. And
Smashing,
Tony,
breaking.
it goes on round the clock. It never lets up. It's not like it's going to start once it gets dark. That's all day,
You
all
walk
night.
into a house like Lindley Street,
Oh, it's
you know,
just-
like some hauntings, the phenomena will stop when you go to
Yes,
investigate it.
yes.
In Lindley Street, it didn't, huh?
No.
Well,
No.
let me give you an example.
Tell them about the electricity part of it, honey.
Well,
That's what's interesting.
I was sitting in the living room. It was a very small house. I could see the table and chairs in the kitchen. All of a sudden, you would get this ozone smell like electricity.
Yeah.
I could see the table starting to shake. It went right up in the air, did a flip, came down. The chairs flew in all different directions. Not only once. This happened every day.
Who
Every
saw
day.
this happen?
Oh,
Police officers, firemen,
numerous.
Chief Swirling. Chief Swirling walked in, the fire department. He's seen 3 huge reclining chairs jumping all over the place. We used to call them Mama Bear, Papa Bear, and Baby Bear. He said, there must be some kind of witchcraft there. And the first priest that went in there, what was his name from the Chancellery?
Oh, he was from St. Patrick's,
What was
honey.
his name?
I don't remember the name right now.
Well, he walked in and said,
From St. Patrick's.
it's definitely something diabolical. But after the Chancellery bishop talked to him, he changed his mind
No,
fast.
they wouldn't
did?
allow.
Oh, yeah, it's ridiculous what they do.
It's
All right, so
really a shame.
When you walk into a house such as Lindley Street,
It's very uncomfortable,
it's almost like you don't need to be told what's happening
no,
because
Oh,
there's
it's
things
right
People
happening.
all
there.
talking excitedly there.
Yeah.
I remember when I came into the house that first time, I think it was November 23rd, wasn't it?
Yeah?
1974. There were policemen in there, firemen in there. They were all talking excitedly. I have this all on tape, you know. The first thing I did was interview the officers, the firemen, the family, anybody that's seen or experienced anything.
These
I know
police
that's
officers had
important.
written statements too, right?
Right.
And yes, it has that.
I have all the police statements. I knew from experience they would say, the little kid did it. That's a cliche they use. I don't know why. I think it's because the police don't know what to do about it. You know, they walk in there, they want to help, but they don't know what they're up against. They just don't know how to stop it.
Okay, so in that house, we weren't going to talk about a specific case, but in that house, what kind of a spirit was there?
Demonic.
A demonic
Definitely
spirit.
demonic.
Well,
Anything as powerful as that is demonic.
I mean,
and it's still there.
And it lasted.
It's still there?
It lasted.
You say it's
yes.
still in the house?
All right, let me tell you how we know this, Tony. Because during the period of time after Mrs. Gooden was killed and then Gerald died,
Yep.
Mr. Gooden.
Mr. Gooden.
Gerald Gooden, yeah.
Yeah, Gerald Gooden died. Right after that, it went into the hands of realtors. Somebody was in there taking pictures, Tony, showed all the great big black globules, shadows all over the place.
It's not as active as it was, but it's still there.
It's like
just
dormant.
Remaining dormant, that's all.
It's just waiting, Tony, for someone to go in there that can activate what is there. There are many ways to activate it. You can be animosity between family members will activate it. Alcoholism, drug abuse, opening doors through Ouija boards.
Okay, now why would the alcoholism and drug abuse and animosity cause a haunting?
Because it creates a type of energy in that house, and spirits are attracted to it by the aura.
Attracted to that?
By the aura, Tony, by the aura. They're attracted to the aura of individuals who they've gone against the laws of God. They're destroying the physical body that God gave them. So that aura is going to change. The spiritual aspect of the aura is going to change. And that's what attracts these spirits to a particular location.
In this case, it was a child. She was, I believe they call it a Seven Nations Indian from Canada. And she was a very unhappy child.
Oh, yes.
In fact, she had been beaten severely. She was at home. She had a tutor coming to the house, the teacher. And the voice coming from the cat, not from the cat, but around the cat, understand that. It's what we call a materialized larynx.
Okay, so we should clarify that she wasn't beaten severely by the Goodens.
No.
That was prior.
By kids in school.
Kids in school, Tony, because they felt she was different.
Okay.
That is so sad, but they did feel she was different.
So you have a very unhappy child here. Her only friend was Sam the cat. And she said, I used to talk with him, he talked back to me. The cat was not talking. It's a materialized larynx. Very rare, but it happens. We've been involved in about 6 cases where such phenomena has occurred. So you have an unhappy child. The energy of this child is all pent up inside of her. Spirits can use this. As she becomes anxious and angry and depressed, she throws off this energy. This is what we call a poltergeist. We use that. Now, parapsychologists, scientists will say, well, these PK rods, psychokinetic rods that supposedly project from this child are only effective up to 14 feet. That's the scientific explanation. I immediately take the child out of the house when I go into such a home. I have them drive that child miles away with the mother and father so nobody can say it's the parents or the kid doing it. And then I provoke in the name of Jesus Christ. And things will be flying around. Where's their theory then? Where are the PK rods? Where's the psychokinetic energy? Sure, it may start with the child in the beginning, but then it takes over.
In the Gooden house where you said it was demonic, you think there's more than one spirit there?
One spirit always attracts other spirits, Tony. So where you have one spirit in a house, or where you have one ghost in a house, it's going to attract other spirits.
Did anybody ever see, in, like, for instance, the Gooden house, any manifestation?
Yes.
Yeah, they did.
We had a young seminarian, Paulino. The first thing I did was to call him up. He was at our house. I said, Paul, come right down. You stay with this little child. Stay with her every minute except when she goes to the bathroom. If she's in one room, I want you in that room with her. I want you to observe her 24 hours a day. He did that. We left to go home. It was around 9 o'clock at night. We went home to get some something to eat, wash up, get some different clothing. And when we got back, Mr. Gooden, Laura Gooden, the wife, Marcy, and him were all outside in the street. The freezing, it was a cold night. I said, what's wrong? They said, we can't go in there. I said, what happened? What happened was that Paulino, a seminarian, started to say prayers in the house,
chanting.
Which I told him not to, chanting. Suddenly this black shadow ghost appeared. He could feel hundreds of pinpoints of electricity all over his body, just like I felt in Amityville. They ran out of the house, they ran across the street to one of the police officers' homes. They were knocking on the door, they let them in. But then after they got in, there was pounding on the door. And the officer said, who's that? He said, you don't want to find out. That came from their house over to this house.
Wow. What was Was that the same kind of thing that happened in West Hartford?
Yeah, well, it happened the same year, too, you know, Tony.
Well, what was the thing
only
West Hartford
thing
about?
different in West Hartford that happened, that was
the Donovan
violent.
case.
Oh,
The
that
Donovan
was,
case.
yeah, that was demonic case, and that was, but that started through the use of a Ouija board, Tony. That all started through the use of a Ouija board, and not only that, but we had huge, heavy things dematerializing in that home. I remember this one night, Ed went in the master bedroom with all the family members. They were all in there. And I walked down the hall, and I just stood in the doorway of the bedroom, you know, just talking. And I turned to leave, Tony, and fell over this big extension ladder that had been in the garage, which was attached to the house. I watched as doors dematerialized. It's the only time in my life, Tony, I have ever watched anything dematerialize and then reappear in another room.
The doors themselves?
The doors
that's
themselves.
teleportation.
Yes.
The molecular structure of the item is broken down so that it dematerializes in one place and materializes in another.
Yes.
People
yes.
out there find that hard to believe, but it happens all the time in the cases we're involved with.
Was the Donovan case worse than the Lindley Street? About the same, or?
I'd say about the same.
I would say it was because it was different in many aspects, Tony. It started in a different way. It had other types of things occurring. Had tremendous damage. Tremendous.
To the house? To the house?
The house. It was the interior.
Didn't something
of it.
happen to your car there?
We want to hear
That
this?
was in the Donovan case.
What happened to
Let
your
me
car?
tell you, we had a brand new Chevette, brand new. I don't think the car had 200 miles on it. Ed did not want to park it in their driveway, so he parked it on the street in front of their house.
I said, I'm not parking that car in there.
I don't blame you.
And so when we got ready to leave, Tony, the car's all locked up. When we got ready to leave the house, the windshield wipers were off the front of the car and on the passenger side seat.
The signal
Wait,
switch inside the car broke off.
Was broke off.
Hold on a second. The car was locked.
Locked.
Yes.
When you left the car, you locked it.
Yes.
When you got back
yes.
to the car, the windshield wipers were inside the locked car.
Yes, and the
turn
shift,
signal,
was
the
broke
turn
off.
signal was
the
broken?
turn signal, that was broke off the car, so we couldn't. That car had to be towed back to the dealer again. Now, it was not that next day. Oh, yes, it was. It was late at that day, and the guy called us. The mechanic called us from the agency, and wanted to know, were we kidding? Tony, that was embarrassing. The wires underneath the hood of the car were all braided like you'd braid hair. Were all braided together.
Really?
Yeah.
They have that
What
braided?
could do this?
What could do
no,
that,
Nothing in
Tony?
this world, Tony.
No
No.
prison.
That bothers you a lot when you see things like that.
Another night coming back from that same house, Lorraine and I, a young lady was with us. It was a foggy night, very foggy. And we were out 84. And I could just see about maybe 25, 30 yards ahead of me. All of a sudden, there was a car with its lights off right in front of me. Parked in the middle of 84. I swerved that Chevette, almost turned it over, went up on top of the grass lawn and turned and went around. There was no car there. That's a phantom car.
There really wasn't a car there?
There was not a car there, because what I did is I parked and I waited,
And nothing came.
I seen other cars come by, there was nothing there.
No,
phantom car.
it's very...
Something to terrify you.
Things like this, Tony, they become really emotional issues when you're involved because they are so incredibly frightening. I mean, to think of the power and, above all, the intelligence behind... Yes, the intelligence behind this.
Wow. Well, you know, we're just about out of time. I think next show, what we're going to do, what I'd like to do next show, is to talk about how you remedy a situation like this. I mean, sure, you go in and you know the house is haunted. How do you remedy it?
Right.
So for those who are tuning in late, Lorraine, do you want to give the P.O. box?
Sure. Okay, you can write to us. In fact, we'll read a letter on the next show, that one of the nice ones we got this week. You can write to us at Lorraine Warren at P.O. Box 41.
Or Ed Warren.
Lorraine and Ed and Lorraine
How about
Warren.
Ed and Lorraine Warren? How about the Warrens?
We'll settle
P.O.
for that.
Box 41
We'll settle for that.
P.O. Box 41.
in Monroe.
Lord Bloodraw's Nerve-Wracking Theater, every Sunday night at 8 p.m. on CATV.
Well, they're going to remodel that. See, that's right. And this is the old section too. You see the plaster between the.
The new door.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's an attic or a bedroom. I would go up the stairs. We've been up there before, so it should be okay to step on. But you can bet, the kids come down here like gangs, and kids want to play around. It's kind of a mess.
2 sets of stairs.
Yeah, they both lead upstairs. This is the old section. Interesting. Yeah, all right. You can tell by the ceiling. See how small the room is?
Yeah.
But I know at one time and not too long ago, 20 years ago, it's not that long, this was a really nice place.
I'm sure, yes. This wouldn't have been a bedroom. It's just probably a hallway there.
Right, yeah. Well, I'm not sure as many children that he had. It could have been.
Where is that second set of stairways?
It's down around this side.
I was looking at the wall here.
You know, film was being filmed.
Yeah.
Yes. We got Margaret Spile. Look, there's a wasp coming in. Look at right in front of the lens. That's pretty neat.
Seriously. Notice that stairway. It should be right here.
It's actually there's another set right over here.
Oh, looking at the wall.
This is the old section here. This is the new section there. I don't know if Margaret if she.
No, wait, you see another set of stairs.
It's whoops, there. Right here. This is the newer section.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's what it's on.
Yeah. This was their bedroom, master bedroom. It still seems pretty solid. You see how the walls were all kicked in.
Oh, there is another house going back there.
Yeah.
Okay. Lots of scrap metal out there.
That used to be a barn. Used to raise rabbits. Birds nested there. Bathroom. Pretty small for a big family. But I think the looks like somebody went to the bathroom here. And
Ectoplasm.
that could be ectoplasm, yeah. Looks like dog doo-doo. Actually, there's some more down here. It's either dogs or kids. Where is she? You know what's sad is that over the years you see a place go down like this.
Okay. Who got her out of the well?
I don't know that. I don't know. I'm sure if she was buried, maybe her dad found her. And you can imagine the heartbreak and, the sadness.
I mean, the sheer terror.
Yeah. Can you imagine Indians coming through that forest?
Yeah.
Attacking there.
Terror compounded with the sudden death.
Yeah.
Violent death.
Right.
Ooh, I wonder if I look like an Indian to her. I wonder if I look like an Indian to her. She had to hide again.
Yeah. You never know. Yeah. Never know.
telling him that it feels as though we're coming through the field as though we were back in time, like when there was that war and stuff going on, and that I'm part Cherokee Indian. My grandmother was a full-blooded Cherokee Indian, and that I feel the spirits of, you know, the Indians and stuff around me. I always do when I get in certain areas. But it feels like almost that there were people that were living out in the woods and stuff and hiding out at the time. And like I said, though, it isn't unusual to do that when you're out in the ground that hasn't been really used like before. This is old ground that we're walking on, and a lot of energy that happened back in that time. But that's what I'm feeling like, and I don't know if that has something to do with the house and what I got. But one of the main things I got was that originally the front door is not where the front door is now. It was on the side of the house. It wasn't on the side that it is now. That wasn't the original front door. And even though I felt a lot of energy at the front and felt, you know, almost kind of a weight and a real nervous kind of, and even fear and everything of what was about to get ready to happen in there, I still walked around. I didn't try to go in the front door. I still walked around to the side. And
how are you doing, sir?
Sometimes I don't know why. I question the fact later why I didn't try to open up the front door and go in. And I think it's because that front door wasn't there originally. And that even the door that's there,
Oh, really? Okay.
it's probably a different door than that was up there before. Because of that door being, I still believe that that door had been kicked in.
Okay. I'll back up and get a snapshot of you here.
You see, I got my woods gear on.
Yeah, no, that's where I put it. It looks pretty nice, doesn't it? Yeah, it wasn't, no. But some of the stuff was, well, this was, I mean, big stump. That's Galata, G-O-L-L-A-D-A.
Coming through.
July 30th, 36. Age 1 year, 4 months, and 4 days. Right.
Okay, I'm not trying to be rude to you guys, but I'm going to just say something. What happens sometimes is when I'm working with people and they want to see if I'm right about something, they try to fix a few things and they change the things, or they don't make it exactly right. And then what it does is it does confuse what it is that I'm really getting. And so, you know, again, like I said, I'm not trying to be rude or anything, but if anybody's done anything like that, you need to tell me so I can get on the correct track about. That's why I said this, you know, doesn't feel like it's in the original places where they were. I'm not disputing that there wasn't some, you know, graves right here in this area, okay? Right here where we're at. But stuff is out of place, and it would be because of back at that time. So
I think you're getting, there's been a lot of vandalism here.
Okay.
Right. And also, the gentleman we saw leaving, he was telling me that these graves normally went down the hill towards the creek.
Okay, because I'm not feeling like this is the correct place.
Right.
Now, I'm not saying that this hasn't been knocked down and hasn't been there for a while, and maybe that one, you know, could be original, but a lot of this stuff isn't where it was. And so that confuses me, and the only thing that I can do is try to be as honest with people as I can and try to get so we can walk around a little.
Yeah, the only gravestone that I know is in the original spot is down here behind one of these trees.
Okay, because this is...
Let's go back this way. Watch, this is loose, so be careful.
much light do you need for that?
I got night shot on here.
Oh.
A Tracy.
Well, what happened here a lot of times is they needed to be dug up graves. A lot of times there's boxes that they put them in, they fall in, and then the ground sinks in below, and that's what has a tendency to happen. There is a lot of energy out in the woods, and whose tombstone is this again?
This is Rachel Tracy. She died April 15th, 1815, age 12 years, 6 months and 15 days.
What was her date of death?
April 15th, 1815. This 12-year-old young lady.
Yes, Rachel Tracy, not Margaret.
Right.
Can we tell what that one says over here?
That just says RT on it. I don't know. With just the initials.
Get a snapshot. Okay. Snapshot here.
1815 is a very early gravestone. People didn't start moving in here until 1719. It's a very early gravestone. People didn't start moving in here until 1795. In this part of the county, most people didn't move in here until about
1840 right there.
1840. That, yeah.
I'm wondering what the first initials of there is.
Oliver? Maybe Oliver?
Oliver?
Yes, yeah, I-V-E-R. Oliver Tracy.
Oliver. Is it Tracy?
I'm making it.
Yeah, it's Tracy. 1855. 1850. It's got a 5 and a 1. It looks like a 1.
1851.
1851.
Yeah.
But yeah. He's one of the skeptic, we don't believe he's out here that try to do something.
Okay. Feel anything?
Oh, all over the place.
All over.
The biggest thing I felt was down this tree line and back here, and me and him back there. It actually got to the point where the air was like there was no air.
Okay,
If you could see it.
Alex? I'm seeing a light back there. I wonder what is it?
I think it's that trailer park, because that's the same thing. Yeah.
But right there, see through that circle, that's where we went.
And you couldn't, the air
Get a snapshot here.
The air quality wasn't that great, it seemed like.
He's someone who knows about the area. It took us 45 minutes to walk from the trailer park.
Wow.
And the trailer park is down, and we're looking up.
I taped the same light. That's funny.
A little bit more of that.
I don't even think the trailer park would be right there.
No, it's something else.
It was too close.
Yeah, because the trailer park.
That's why I didn't.
Back there, dude.
That's why I didn't say anything.
Yeah,
that's what I thought it was. It's a kind of an orangish light.
Yeah, I'm looking. Still looking at. Hey, Alex. Alex. I need my tripod to really hold that.
I know I got it on mine.
Let's see if I can get a snapshot of it.
No, I mean, I taped the light on here.
Yeah, that's one. See if I can get some more.
It was right when I went forward.
Are you getting a good shot?
Well, there's a light back there we're trying to explain.
Right, and they'll appear in lights and stuff, and that's why I said if you want to get pictures and stuff, you want to be out here and bring your flashlights and stuff and be in the complete dark and just start flashing some pictures and having your tape recorder.
Way on down there.
And there's no electricity out here.
No.
No,
See if I can get another one here. See it straight there? That light?
Well,
we actually walked down there and it was very hard to breathe.
right, and that's what I said I wanted to walk down that way because of the energy. If we had time, I said I wanted to walk like half a circle around.
We need to know what that is. What are you? Let me get another snapshot. Ah, that's a bad one. I should can't see.